All right, today our guests are, so should I call you Karen and Bill or KB? Like, what do you like to go by?
Karen and Bill, we're still separate people.
Very good. KB Brodsky, the husband and wife team behind this new upcoming book, Beyond Honor. You got that right there in the back. Welcome to No Limits. Great to have you guys.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, so I just want to get a little bit more background about you guys. David kind of hinted that maybe you guys were spies in a previous life because he said you guys were the real deal. Your book, I've purposely I have it. It's on my nightstand. I'm going to read it, and then my wife's going to read it. Before I wanted to talk to you, I just didn't want to. I wanted to, go into this not knowing anything. So.
Well, we really love that David loves to tell people that he thinks that we're spies.
Right.
Awesome. Right. I want to know more about you. What you can tell me at least.
Right.
No. We we were, so I have been a avid fan of this genre for my whole life, for 40 years. And as you can see behind us is just, the bookcase full of everybody that you love and I love and Karen.
And by the way, you can only see like this whole bookshelf is Bill's spy novels.
So,
pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Right. So, we grew up reading Ludlum and Follett and Le Carré and, all those guys in that genre, David Morrell. And then, then there's a whole new crew of people that's come up like Mark Graney and Jack Carr and Ben Coase and Rothenberg and Ignatius, so I was actually laughing to myself. I feel like I Miyagi'd myself, like I didn't realize how much I was learning when I was reading all these books. You just kind of, you get so much, 10,000 hours of practice you need to master something. I didn't realize that this process of reading all these books was, kind of like laying the groundwork for doing something like this. So, we, came up with this idea. I was in between things, and I came up with this idea of this book, and we started just, it actually came out quite quickly. And I think it's because of this, lifelong love of this genre.
I can back that up a little bit.
Sure, back it up. By the way, we've been married for almost 30 years, so we're not just writing partners. We have 3 kids and a big dog. It's, the whole thing. Right.
So Bill has professionally worked in commercial real estate forever. And I was briefly a teacher, and then I was a stay-at-home mom, and I did a bunch of volunteer stuff. And we just had sort of more of a everyday life. And then when Bill he disbanded his company, I'm going to just tell the story. One day,
I sold my partnership interest to my partner.
Right. But that wasn't the story. The story is one day our oldest son, so he was probably 25 a couple years ago when this all started. Bill just said to us out of the blue, "Hey, so I've been writing a book and I kind of want to share it with you." And we just looked at each other like, "You do what?" We were very nervous, and he hands us like 70 pages of this book. And we were just like, okay. And we both start reading it, and we read the whole thing. And I look at my son and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, what? And we were just like, we didn't know you could write. And so we were like, you have to keep going with this. You have to write this book. And then I've over the years, Bill has handed me a million of these books. I love to read, and I read just everything, a wider range, including some of these awesome thrillers. So he said, "Hey, I want to do this with you. Like, I've always been very involved with writing." And so Bill, like, really, like, he did this for the first draft. So the first draft was the whole plot. And then I took it and then worked on it and kind of helped craft it into the first real draft and added dialogue. And then once we had it like in a shape we both liked, then we started talking about it and like talking about the characters and talking about, the arcs that we wanted all these characters to have. And then that was when I think it became a little bit more like you and me working together. And that's the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I've interviewed a couple different co-author situations. Most recently, we've interviewed both Jack Carr and Brad Thor, who have come out with co-authored books. Both of those very distinctly different. We've also had on our podcast Andrews and Wilson. They're a co-writing pair. Obviously, they also do stuff individually. Each of them have their own kind of style. So you mentioned that he wrote the first draft, then you got it. Like, was it once that whole thing was taken apart? Was it like you're working on this part, you're working on that part? I'm super intrigued by these co-authoring pairs.
Yeah. So and I watched those podcasts that you had with Jack Carr and Woodward and Thor and Ward Larson, is it right? He did the one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was unclear to me. I mean, like everyone's style is a little different, but it's unclear to me what happens like in the nitty gritty. But at some point during this process, in addition to long walks with the dog, and we're like, how are we going to get this guy to Siberia? Like, it's got to make sense, like having fun conversations. At some point, we're sitting across from each other on a Google Doc and, kind of like figuring out what are the right words, what's the right sequence, where's the chapter go. And it turns out from a more solo experience, which I suspect, in the guys we were just talking about, one of them probably writes the initial draft and then sends it to the other guy, and then they have more of a collaboration, but there's a little solo journey at the beginning.
Right.
And so that kind of mirrors, I think, what we did, which is there's a little solo, getting the white page full of words, you're trying to put the story together, and then it becomes more of a collaboration.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm wondering, like, was there ever a time where you guys are both on the same paragraph, like on different computers and Google Docs, and like adding different dialogue at the same
God
time?
bless Google Docs. No, he tried that once, and I was like, absolutely not. This is not happening.
Yeah.
We have to stop. But we did sort of come up with the rules. So whoever makes a comment, and we edit with comments, the other person, you cannot change without making a comment, and you can't do anything without comment. Then we'll sit down together and go through the comments together, and then like approve. But you can't just like slip. And then there'll be all these moments where I'll be like, hey, I changed this thing. And he'll be like, I didn't touch it. And I'll be like, you definitely touched it. And then I'll read 2 paragraphs down. I'm like, oh, no, it's there. You got it.
Oh, it's right there. Yeah.
I
That's
think
the intricacies of having a wife duo, wife husband duo. Yeah.
Right. Someone was saying like,
Yeah.
how does this actually work? And so we were recently traveling, and we were on a long flight, and I took an Ambien to try to, like jumpstart the time change.
Yeah.
And before this plane ride, Don Bentley, who writes for Emily Bessler also at Simon & Schuster, he was nice enough, and we were having some kind of exchange of emails, and we'll always see you in New York, and I'll buy you a beer, whatever it is. And so I came out of the Ambien days, and he had written an email, and I was like, I said like total gibberish, like beers in me, talk to you never, or whatever, some stupid thing, right? Right.
So I'm sitting in the airport with my phone, and I'm like reading my emails, and I'm CC'd on it, and I'm like, what the? Like, what did you say to him? Oh my God.
Right.
So
Karen's like, what Bill meant to say was, can't wait to see you in New York City. Right. He'll buy you a beer. Right? And then Don wrote back, he's like, now I see why you guys are writing together.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So speaking of so how did you guys get on the radar of David, Emily Bessler? Well, like, what was that process?
Like a miracle angel.
Yeah. Yes, I would so we appreciate and understand how difficult it is to get noticed in this business. And we are, we really, particularly coming from Filler Fest and talking to a lot of people, how, the
normal journey
is, and we certainly don't want to disrespect or not feel really appreciative of how our journey was. So we finished this book, and I have 2 brothers. I don't know if you have any brothers. So
and 1 sister.
Okay, so I sent it to my older brother, who's 63, right? And he calls me up. He's like, "Oh my God, you idiot! How did you do this? You're such a dope." Like as brothers do, right? Right. I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
Right? He's awesome, right? He's been an incredible advocate, him and his wife, of this journey. So he's like, I'm going to send it to a buddy of mine. I'm like, sure, anyone could read it. Because, I was actually also thinking that when I was growing up in the late 70s and 80s, you build a model airplane and you wouldn't really want to, once you finished it, you didn't really have anything to do with it. It would just like sit on your desk for a while until you set it on fire, basically, throughout the window. But so this guy that my brother sent it to, a guy named Lee Eastman, he knew somebody at CAA and so Lee sent it to somebody at CAA, the agency.
Okay. Without having read it.
Without having read it.
He's basically like, dude, this guy's brother wrote a book and his wife, and we're just, I'm supposed to give it to you.
Right. Sorry, ... Right. It's like, sorry, like putting you through this. So the CAA contact sent it to someone who traffics in thrillers, a guy named Anthony Matero. And he just, one morning, we get an email. My name is Anthony. I love your book. I want to represent you. To make a long story short, I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. And then a month later, Emily bought 2 books. Actually, we have a 2-book deal with Simon & Schuster. So
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It was very, again, understanding other people's. It's very unexpected, and
we owe somebody big somewhere.
Again, we do.
It's coming.
We've interviewed a host of different, people that have gone different routes, and inevitably there's going to be someone that, writes a masterpiece and gets, the right person's eyes on it. And hey, it happened to you guys. You don't feel sorry for it. Embrace it. You guys are in this moment. And, I'm excited to read the book. I haven't read the book. I want to talk to you a little bit about, give us some non-spoilery, stuff about it. But, I think this game is it's crazy, just the 1 in a million type things. And hey, when you have it, ride those coattails. So
right. I mean, we do know that Vince Flynn couldn't sell his first book. Right?
No, he was selling it out of the back of his car.
We would have done it.
Right.
I would have done that.
Dan Brown, he says, I sold 6. He wrote this first book he wrote was called Digital Fortress.
Yeah,
which is
love that book too.
There. Yeah, great book. He said he sold 6 of them and 2 of them to his mother. So we.
In fairness, Bill's mom has already bought 5 of them.
Exactly.
Hey, there you go.
Right. So we appreciate, how lucky that is. Yeah.
Gotcha. So as you begin this publicity tour, what are you guys, most looking forward to, most nervous about? What is David going to put you through?
Well, we're talking about it today, and we're not doing a traditional, they're not sending us on a book tour, but we are going to be going to accept. I will say at Thriller Fest, we were, again, just feel so lucky. We were able to sit at Emily Bessler's table at the banquet, and because Barbara Peters was being honored, she sat next to us. And
nice.
So we got to actually just hang out and talk with her, and being new to this whole journey and new to this whole world. If you had told me Barbara Peters, I'd be like, yeah, okay, but that's nice. She has a bookstore. Aw. And then talking to her, I was so, and I think you agree, was just blown away by this person who has created this whole world and has put so much of herself into championing this world and out of her bookstore, essentially. So, so that was a highlight. I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything with her, but I know that just, I don't know, meeting her and getting a taste of that world, I thought was super exciting.
Yeah.
I was, I think, I don't know, she's 85 or 86 years old. What an incredible woman. So that was
good. And then Jack Carr was sitting next to her. So I found out.
You were at a great table.
Yeah. I fanned out a little bit with him, which was a little embarrassing.
I left Bill alone for 3 seconds, and I come back and he's like, oh my God.
I was like, oh my God. This is what you say. I'm like, I was like, but he could have been nicer. I was like, oh, Jack, I've read all your books. He's like, oh, he's like, thank you for saying that. And then I was like, all of them. He's like, you said that already. He's like, why don't you sit down and we can talk? I'm like, okay.
Welcome to the club. Yeah, no, that's been honestly the most surprising thing to me is how nice this community is. You know,
Oh my God, yes.
like how, you know, we're just two schmucks who started a podcast during COVID. We both love Vince Flynn, and it's exploded, you know, modestly into, you know, what this is. And you know, David's been kind to, you know, get us in front of people like you guys. Obviously, we're able to talk to. Still haven't had Mark Greeny on. He says he's too busy, but you know, we've been able to talk to a lot of our, you know, idols, not only about like their books, but about like stuff they like, and you know, just people are willing to give their time, and it's kind of crazy to me that people are willing to do that. So yeah, it's been a great community, and then we've also like been able to, you know, some of independent authors that, you know, we are supporting, you know, they're in our club, I guess if you want to call it. It's just been nice to have this book community to talk to people,
Yeah.
because I feel like the thriller genre, like this genre, like there's a lot of people that read it, but I don't find a lot of content out there where people are like actively discussing it. Whereas like the, you know, the Harry Potters of the world, these large, you know, Game of Thrones have like all these podcasts and all this, you know, dedication to it. And these books are just as good and neat. Like, but and I know there's an urge for people to want to talk about it, and we just, you know, need to build it up a little bit more. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to be part of it. We're
Yeah.
so happy to
yeah.
be part of it. Yeah.
So what? Talking about pivoting to your book. All right. So I'm going to read the little blurb. It says on Real Books By, you know, Beyond Honor blends espionage, political intrigue, and action. So, you know, what sparked this? Like, and you mentioned you read this book from your son. Did that spark any of it, or is it
Oh,
something completely different?
no. We read his book. Bill wrote the book. Our son and I read it. So Bill
Sorry, I got
Bill
confused.
wrote the draft and handed it
Gotcha.
to our son, and my son and I were the first two readers, and we were the ones who were really surprised. And then
Gotcha.
just
Okay,
delighted.
I misread that. I thought your son also had a book, and you had like another book coming.
By the way, everybody seemed to be very surprised, which is, you know, my mother's like, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, oh, Mom, that's really nice to say. She's like, no, of the three boys, I can't believe you did this. I'm like, okay.
If I could call your reading to her now.
Pump the brakes on that, Mom. I mean, she's almost 90. You know, it's like, pump the brakes. Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, you know, there's so many little subgenres within the thriller genre. And, you know, I think that there's been a movement towards, you know, very high action, which I love those books, right? Like the Jack Carr books are incredible, and the Mark Greany Gray Man series is incredible. But, you know, when I was kind of coming, you know, when I was reading these as a kid, the Ludlums of the world and the David Morrells of the world, certainly the Tom Clancy, and I'm not suggesting that our book is anywhere, you know, near these guys' books, but you know, those books they kind of pumped the brakes a little bit more than the more modern versions of where the genre is going. And so the book that we constructed, I think, is a throwback. And I think some of these very generous reviews, these pre-reviews that we've gotten, which are just incredibly surprised, just so incredible to read, recognize that it's a little bit of a throwback to those authors who were kind of like the base of this genre. So the idea kind of spurred from, you know, I just had this idea that there's this like sleazy Russian agent in the hotel, in some fancy hotel in Moscow, recording people, you know, sinning in the hotel rooms and using that as compromise to exploit something. And then it was just kind of a sad state of affairs for this guy in the basement, you know, recording these videos. And then I was like, oh, I wonder, maybe his father is a Russian general and he doesn't like his son. You know, like all of a sudden it just kind of, and I have read that some authors outline and kind of know the beginning, the middle, like they kind of outline each chapter. And this book kind of just organically grew into a mosaic of about 5 different stories that seem unrelated in the first half of the book, and they all kind of like come together in the middle to the end of the book. And then there's kind of like a sprint to the end, as you know, which is kind of a typical thing in that genre.
Hallmark, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I think, yeah, I've definitely noticed as even if you take like a tome that has like Brad Thor, for instance, when we just completed his entire arc, 23, 25 books. And when you look at the beginning versus like how he's transitioned to now, you can definitely see this shift in thriller writing into being way more quick pace,
Yeah.
small chapters. Even like the book lengths have gotten significantly shorter than like some of the early obviously the Ludlums and the
Like the Tom
Right.
Clancy's who take up like 6
the
inches.
Tom Clancy's, yeah, exactly. But we have had these little one-offs, the David McCloskeys of the world.
This is
Yeah,
a
that's
great
huge.
book, right?
The print is probably really small.
It is, right, exactly. Right.
I.S.
David
Barry with
McCloskey's incredible. Yeah.
Peacock and the Sparrow, and so we know that there's definitely a intrigue for wanting to get back to those roots by putting like a modern spin on it. So I'm excited that you guys decided to go down that route,
I mean, I think
because
the other
while
thing,
blowing up everything is nice, but sometimes we want.
the thing for me too is like Bill will often like hand me a book and be like, "This one was great. You have to read this." And sometimes I agree, and sometimes I get halfway through it, and I'm sure it's great, but it's not great for me. And I really, I'm so intrigued by the characters, and when I see these like sort of superhero special forces people, I have all these questions. What are they really like, and what is it like when they go home at night, and what's and just talking to real people, you know that there is so much more beyond that. So we were really excited also to just kind of like explore that, almost out of, I would say, and I don't want to speak for you, but in many ways, just out of respect for all of these people, to just sort of acknowledge you aren't superheroes. It's more impressive that you're actually a real person. And so we tried to like dig into that a little bit as well.
I think we dug into that a lot. So we wrote, it's basically a trilogy, and we have 3 books on paper. And so the first book explores, and it starts with an Ernest Hemingway quote about what makes someone very special could be their fault, like someone who's very loyal or someone who's very dedicated. You could kind of see how that could be a flaw. So we kind of explored honor and vengeance. And the second book kind of explores the reckoning of what happens when you're forced to do things that are beyond honor. And the third book is about then accepting who you are
Dude,
after.
you're just going all the way to the end.
Why is that too much? Is that too much?
Spoiler, this is like how we wrote the first book.
Right. So, and I do think, to Karen's point, it comes from talking to a lot of people and listening to a lot of things, and reading, all these books, nonfiction as well as, nonfiction, to get really a sense of, when these warriors talk about their experience, they do talk about what, like the battle, the event, but more of it is about the experience and the brother, their brothers, and the loss, and, what it put them through and what it did to their family. And so, in this mosaic, it did, we tried to explore, the fallout, not there's action, of course, but the fallout and the relationships, and not just on the battlefield, but like in within the office space, like in the CIA or in the White House, right? Would you say that's right?
Yeah. So it's like there's pacing. It's still really fun.
Good.
No, it's super fun, but it's
Right.
it's a throwback. It's
Yeah.
I was thinking, like this classic book, The Brotherhood of the Rose. Do you see that backwards, by the way? Is that backwards or forwards to you?
It's forwards for me.
Okay, good. Like this, like David Morrell, this is a classic, and it starts in a monastery with an assassin in a jail cell that he's put himself in the cell for, a year or so. And it really takes his time to build this character. And so we kind of thought about those books as we were writing this book.
I see that you guys are definitely 2 different people. You kind of have this like nice, different yin and yang mentality. What do you think each of you brings better, or brings to the table with this, co-writing experience?
I think, like we said, Bill, for his superpower is crafting the actual story. Like I am just really in awe of that. And then I think what I bring to the table, and you can answer too after, but I think what I bring to the table is more. I feel so really strongly that if you're going to ask somebody to read your book, it better be well written, and you better like spend some time. And Bill handed me one book, no idea what it was, but a while back, and I remember I got like 4 pages in, and I was like, the guy said red leather couch 3 times in one paragraph. Like, you can't find another word for red leather couch. I'm like, I'm out. And I really think I feel really strongly that the characters every motivation has to make sense. There can't be holes. It has to be well written. It has to be like the process of spending time with this book should be really enjoyable, and you should. And so I think we both have these things that like we really care strongly about, and then we appreciate that, I guess.
And she says, don't take Ambient before I
write. Also, I've got to like curtail his drug habit.
Well, Kara, I have to say you are, if we need a third chair, I think you are one of us. You are a real no limits person, because that is exactly what me and Mike are like. So, if the book deal falls out and you want to join a podcast, you have a spot.
I'm in.
So like, how do you guys deal with, you mentioned a little bit about the notes and stuff, but how did you deal with someone, disagreements, or someone that felt really strongly about something or a character?
I mean, I think we were on the same page, and I don't think we really had disagreements. I think did we have disagreements? We did? Oh,
you guys disagree about that?
What did we disagree about?
I can't put my finger on it. By the second we hang up, I'll think of it. No,
okay.
But if we disagreed, we would just kind of battle it out. And I will say this, to your point about us being a little bit different. So in our family, if we go see a movie, we walk out and everyone will be like, yeah, that was fun. And everyone wants to enjoy the fact that they saw this fun movie. And I'm like, here's what was wrong with that movie. And I love just pulling it, but I'm enjoying it, but I really do like taking it apart. And so my name in our family is Buzzkill. So I think we would there have been Buzzkill examples.
You're sharing too much.
No, this is great.
I think I would say that when it comes to this book, like I would be so excited to push back. Like I'll be like, why? But why is this happening? And this doesn't make any sense. And Bill would say, no, it makes sense. And here's why. And I'm like, no. And I
do think what we ended up with is that, it's the journey that the characters take, is believable, because every little move is believable. And I think Karen really helped that, so that there wasn't like, at one point there's like something and a magic wand made it happen. Like everything, I think, as you're going through the pages, you're taken from Washington to Russia to Ukraine to Siberia to Alaska. And while that's that's a lot of journey, but every little point in that journey is constructed in a believable way. Yeah.
Nice.
I agree.
Right. And actually, one of the I don't want to give away what happens in the book, but one of the big events that happens in the book happens towards the middle of the book. And some of the feedback we got at the beginning when we were kind of sharing an initial draft was, why don't you take that
big exciting thing
and put it at like on the page 1. And we were very passionate about the reason why it's such a big exciting thing. It isn't because you get to know the characters, you get to understand their motivation, and you have a kind of a relationship with them. And if it just happened with the first page, it wouldn't be this big exciting thing.
Right.
And so we pushed back on that.
We'll discuss that next time.
We'll discuss it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. No. I feel that. Yeah, because sometimes it's, it's a flash in the pan. It's like a clickbait, if you want to, call it like esque type thing, a hook. But if you put in the time and the work, then it could definitely work better that way.
Yeah.
I guess, as you guys getting in this space, as new readers are getting to learn you guys, what do you want them to most take away from this first novel of yours?
I certainly I would say that the main characters are based on real people that either we've talked to or people that we have listened to, that that these struggles and their emotional arc is real. Maybe not the story, because the story's made up, but I think that
maybe realistic.
it's really right. But the emotional arcs, I think people. But again, we haven't sold one book other than my mother, right? So we don't know, but I think that people can relate to like little battles in a human's life, in this book, the worst thing that's going to happen isn't the core of the earth is going to explode and the earth will blow up and our hero has to save the earth. Like the stakes are very understandable and I think very relatable. In the context of this genre. And I think hopefully that resonates with them because the stakes I think are, and I think even in the second and the third book, the stakes don't get so like, why is that okay to say?
Slow down.
No. Well, but the stakes are like, there's, I think hopefully when you read the book, you say, oh, I know this person. I understand this person. There's a little bit of me in this person.
Okay.
I mean, me or you, right? The reader.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that
you want it to be like relatable, something that,
Right.
while not all of us are spies, but just something that you could believe, because not all of us can read Mark Rainey or, believe you're the gray man or that but put in situations that maybe, you could relate to, I guess, is that you're trying to say.
Right. Well, and I love the Gray Man series, and I love the Mark Rainey stuff, and I've read his other books as well. But this and right, but I hope that those Mark Court Gentry is a superhero, and he's incredible, and so this is a little different. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, we always, I want to respect your time, let you guys go. I didn't even ask, where are you guys from? Where do you live?
We're in New York City, and then
New York City? Okay.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I live in Pennsylvania, right outside Philadelphia. Mike is, he lives in DC. We met at college in DC. So I'm from the Northern Virginia area. So
Nice.
Drawn to this spy world because of all the.
Is his? Well, I'll ask you a question off the air about.
No, go ahead.
Is his profession known on your podcast as well? His other job?
Yeah, he's a middle school teacher.
Because our daughter's a middle school teacher in DC also.
Oh, small world. What school do you know?
It's not Cardozo. She was at Cardozo.
No, she just moved school.
Changed school. She was at Cardozo, and no, she's at a different one.
Right.
Okay. All right.
We're going to email you so you can tell Mike where she is. Yeah.
It sounds good.
Right.
Well, we like to end this podcast by asking, what is the last great thing you guys have read? Can you or seen? Can you guys share that with us for our listeners?
No, you go first because I have to think about it.
So I think one of the I love seen. I just saw Hail Mary.
What do you think?
Incredibly, so much fun. Ryan Gosling is incredible. That was just a super fun movie, and I read the book, and obviously The Martian and Artemis 3 or Artemis I read. But I thought that was a really fun thing to see, and I did read a really terrific book called Duet in Beirut, which is written by someone from the Mossad. It's a fiction book, and it was just a really nuanced thriller.
I'll have to write that down.
I'll email it to you. And it was just really well done. That was that one I read recently. That was just a really great read. Really surprisingly good. Yeah.
I had to look up the author's names. I couldn't remember. Her name is Catherine Faw Morris. Have you Ultra Luminous? Do you know that book?
No.
It's short, and I loved it. Very tight story. She's a prostitute. She has 5 clients, and you're just in her head in these little snippets. It's very cool. Yeah. Okay, a little dark.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. All right. Well, we're going to have you guys back obviously when we get closer to pub day, we'll talk about, your path towards it. Definitely want to get into talking to you more about this book, the spoilers. In the meantime, obviously we can pre-order your book on Amazon, right?
Yes. Or any bookstore.
Pre-orders, or any bookstore.
Yep,
Support your local bookstore, including the Poison Pen. So yeah, thank you guys very much. This was great.
Thank you
Nice
so
to meet
much.
you.
We really appreciate it, and I hope you like the book, because that would be humiliating. No, but we really appreciate you taking the time and spending time with us.
And if we're on different screens the next time, obviously this didn't work out. So.
It's all good. Oh, this did work out. Yeah. I hope not. Yeah, no, I'm super, anything that David, I trust David. I trust Brian Steck as well. So, we wouldn't be having you guys. Mike started reading it. He said it's very good. So,
Okay.
And I trust him too. So,
well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
we really appreciate
thank you,
it.
Chris.